Welcome to this tutorial on how to create a sequenced version of Rewrite the Stars from Greatest Showman using Ableton Live Intro 11. For this project, you will need the written resources that you will have been provided with in lessons. There are 3 pages of this. I am using them electronically and I've just got them stored away on a second monitor, which is why you might see me bringing things down. And you will, of course, need Ableton Live Intro 11, which I'm going to open up now. I, as usual, am on my Mac. You may not be on a Mac, you may be on a PC, but your teacher will tell you or show you any differences between the Mac and the PC in terms of getting the software started, and I will try and make very clear which keys I'm using and what different keys are on different platforms. I'll try and do most things with mouse clicks as well so that you can actually see what I'm doing. I thought we'd have a bit of fun with Rewrite the Stars. It's a great song. The original version is fantastic, but actually I thought we'd create a bit of an EDM, that's an electronic dance music version of Rewrite the Stars, just so the version that the performers are creating, or the version that you created when you were a performer, if you've already done that part of the project, is different from the one that you create on the sequencer, and really sort of taking advantage of everything that we have in the sequencer. So you may well have done a couple of these projects by now, or if you're at the start of a year, then this may be the first time that you've used Ableton. So Ableton opens in session view. We don't want session view, we want arrangement view, so that we can very clearly see all of our tracks laid out on top of each other rather than next to each other. So I'm going to put it into arrangement view by pressing tab. The alternative way to do that, if you're using mouse clicks, is over here. The horizontal lines is what we want. That's arrangement view. The vertical lines is session view. We don't want that at the moment. As usual, Ableton has opened its default tracks. We don't want all of those, so I'm going to leave the first MIDI track in. I'm going to right-click on the second one down and go delete, then right-click again, delete, right-click again, delete. And we don't need these buses down at the bottom as well. They're just scope for causing a bit of confusion. So I'm going to delete the reverb bus by, again, right-click, delete, and the delay bus, right-click, delete. Couldn't delete the master even if I wanted to, because it's very important and we're going to need it later. So let's leave it in. So we are going to start off with the chords of Rewrite the Stars. So you will want this part of the resources in front of you, and we're going to record this part. And there are a couple of different ways that you could do this. I'm going to do this as a layered approach, right? So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I can't play the keyboard, or my keyboard skills aren't great, how am I supposed to play chords? Well, we're going to do it one note at a time. If you don't want to do this, if you want to literally just play the chords because you can play all of the notes at the same time on the keyboard, that is absolutely fine. Go ahead and do that, but that is not how I'm going to do it. So if we look at our letters, the top note of each chord is simply E for 4 beats, C for 4 beats, G for 4 beats, and D for 4 beats. But look carefully at the shape on the stave. That's why the notes are here as well as the letters. Okay, so the E will then go down to the C because it's lower on the stave, down to the G because it's lower on the stave, and up to the D. That's the pattern that we want to create. E down to C, down to G, up to D. Okay, and there's 4 beats on each of those. Now, as it happens, the tempo of Rewrite the Stars is 120. That's marked on the melody sheet, and that is what Ableton comes on by default. So we are almost ready to record. We just need to choose a sound. Now, I've already been through and done a version of this as practice, so I could work out what sounds nice and what doesn't. You are welcome to use completely different sounds from mine if you wish. Be creative, use your ears, see what works, see what doesn't. Not everything is going to work together, I'll tell you that right now. But the track that I've chosen for the chords is called MPE Gravity. And if you type Gravity into the search bar up here above where it says sounds, and then pull down where it says pad, you'll see this one, MPE Gravity ADG. Okay, and I'm going to drag that over and I'm going to put that on our purple MIDI track. Your window may have opened with a different color, but it doesn't really matter. And what that should mean is that our keyboard is now armed and live and making sounds. Okay, I'm just going to put my resources back on my other screen so I can make sure I play exactly what it is that I've actually said to you. So I'm going to turn the metronome on, which is these 2 dots up here. So I've got something nice and clean to play in time with. I'm going to record our first layer. It will give us 4 ticks and then off we go. So remember, E down to C, down to G, up to D. That's what we're after, and you should be able to see the keyboard in your video as well. Here we go. Okay, nice and simple. Double click on the header and the editor opens up. Okay, so you can see the notes that I've just recorded there. E down to C, down to G, up to D. I'm pretty good at playing in time, but remember the sequencer can help us out. So I'm going to right click in the window, anywhere you want in there, and go up to where it says quantize. Going to click quantize and they will snap onto the timing grid. Okay, I'm just going to make sure the ends are nice and neat as well. Attention to detail, just lining everything up, making sure everything is as beautiful as it can be and everything sounds nice. Okay, there we go. That is our first track recorded in, or our first layer of our first track. There are a couple of different ways you could do the second layer. Okay, I'm going to do it by duplicating the first one. So I'm going to right click in the track header and go duplicate, and then double click here, and you can see there's an additional copy of what we were just making. Now for the second layer, we want C down to A, down to E, up to B. I'll do that again. C down to A, down to E, up to B. You can see that's the middle note of these chord layers. Now I could re-record it, and if I was doing a piano track, I probably would re-record it, because the piano is a real instrument and we don't want the piano to sound robotic, so we don't want it to sound copy and pasted lots. But here we're using a synthesizer, we're using EDM sounds, we're using electronic sounds, so we can safely do some editing. So our first E needs to come down to a C. So I'm just going to grab hold of it. Whoops. See, deleting things by accident. Grab hold of it and drag it down to C. Then we said A, take the C down to A. Then we said E, take the, need to do a bit of scrolling on the page, take the G down to E. And then the D becomes a B. Okay, and you can hear already when I play these together, okay, you've got chords. We're going to do a third layer. So I'm going to again click in here with my right click and click duplicate. Okay, now this one, again, let's change the chords. If we look at our layers, at the bottom notes now, we have A down to F, down to C, up to G. A down to F, down to C, up to G. Let's do that. So again, not re-recording. I'm going to change the bottom layer, making sure I'm in the right one. So the C becomes an A. The A becomes an F. Making sure not to get F sharps or anything like that. The E becomes a C. And the B becomes a G. Okay, play them together. Okay, and we now have what are known as triads, 3-note chords, right? We're going to leave them alone just for the time being. That is actually all we need to record for the chords, because the chords just loop and loop and loop and loop, which we're going to do in a little bit, okay? So the next part that we're going to add in is we're going to add in the guitar track. Now, the guitar track has exactly the same notes as the chords we've just played, exactly the same, but it just adds a little bit of texture. It's got a different rhythm. It goes bum 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 bum, and it helps to add into the drum track and create a little bit of interest. Okay, so I'm going to do it in pretty much the same way, but we're going to need a track. So I'm going to right click over here in an empty area. I'm going to insert a MIDI track, not an audio track. An audio track is for if you're recording a microphone or something like that. We're not doing that. We're working with MIDI, which is the electronic instruments built into Ableton. So we've got a MIDI track, and I have already searched for a sound that I'm happy with, and it's got a nice name. It's called Drippy Cave. So I'm going to search for Drippy, which is in the guitar section, funnily enough, for a guitar track. And it's that sound, okay? It's got a nice little bit of ping on the start of it, so it'll make good texture. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to drag that across to the new blue MIDI track, which has appeared, and that now says Drippy Cave, okay? Now this one, it's exactly the same notes. So it's going to be E down to C, down to G, up to D, just like we did before. But this time, instead of holding them for 4 beats, we're going to play them for quavers or 8th notes to go. And there's some accents on here. Okay, so it's 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Don't worry too much about playing that, because I'm going to show you how to add that on in the editor afterwards. So let's just record, make sure we're in the right place, I might need to move my keyboard up. Nope, actually, it's fine. I'm on 1 up if you're on a MIDI keyboard. You might be on a MIDI keyboard. Sorry, you will be on a MIDI keyboard. You might be on a mini keyboard. You might be on a full-size keyboard, so you might need to use the octave up and down. You might not too, but find something. Use your ears, okay? We are in music lessons, and find something suitable. So here we go. Played that wrong, didn't I? Yes, I did. Sorry about that. I need to say it as I'm going out loud, perhaps for my own benefit. E down to C, down to G, up to D. E, C, G, D. Okay, see how I did that? Now again, if you can't get it perfectly in time, don't worry, because we're going to quantize it anyway. Right. Okay, quite happy with that. That sounds nice. Now, I was mentioning the texture, the rhythmic texture. There's some accents. It goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now, it's quite hard to do that on the keyboard, but luckily there's a little tool down here at the bottom. Is the velocity. Now that is how hard I pressed the keys when I was playing. So you can see that they're pretty. I have pounced out the accents just a little bit, but we want a lot more than that to create the effect. So what I'm going to do is on the start of 3 and 3 and 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So on the start of the 3 group, then the start of the 3 group, then the start of the 2 group. That's quite hard to explain. I'm going to up the velocity. So on the first one, I'm going to ramp it all the way up to the... Oh, hello. Oh, I've got them all selected. We don't want that. Make sure you haven't got them all selected or they'll all change. Okay, so the first note, all the way out to 127. Miss out 2. Fourth note, up to 127. Miss out 2. What will this be? The 7th note, all the way up to the top. Okay, that's the first group. Then the note changes. So we go first, 4th, all the way up, 7th. Note changes again. 1st, 4th, 7th. Note changes again. 1st, 4th, 7th. And that should give us this nice rhythmic effect that we're after. Can you hear that note jumping out? Okay, and because we've done it now, it means it will copy onto all of our other layers. Okay, so let's start making those layers. So I'm going to go to my Drippy Cave track. I'm going to duplicate it. Make sure I'm in that part of the editor. Okay, and I'm going to select all of the E's in the first bar, because all of the E's in the first bar need to become C's. So I'm going to drag them all down to C. There we go. Then in the second bar, all of these C's need to become A's. Then in the third bar, all of these G's need to become E's. And in the last bar, all of the D's need to become B's. Okay. Then duplicate that middle layer and do the same thing again. Make sure you're in the same place. Select all of the first bar, and they all need to become A's. Okay, these are on your resource sheets. Okay, written out for you. The A's need to become F's. Whoops, doing the wrong thing. A's need to become F's. Then E's need to become C's. And finally, B's need to become G's. Okay. Now, if we play this, how good does that sound? Okay, now we've got quite a lot of tracks layering up already, and I'm getting a little bit of distortion in my headphones. It's not crazy bad, but I'm just going to turn the master volume, which is here. Right, I'm not going to turn the volume on my laptop down. That would be silly. We're still going to get the signals I need to get. I'm just going to turn it down a smidge. I'm going to go down to -4. And then, actually, if you want to, you can then turn your speakers up. Okay, and now now not getting any distortion in my ears. Okay, purely optional step. It depends whether you can hear the distortion or not on whatever you are working on. Right, I think we need a drum kit. Right, I'm aware of the fact, by the way, that we've only got one bar at present. We are going to develop it out, but I thought we'd put one bar of each of the layers in and then copy them all together to save a bit of work. So, like I said, I've done this before, and we're going to put in, I'm going to type AG, no I'm not, I'm going to type techno. I'm in the wrong place, that's why. Okay, I've got sound selected, I'm going to go to drums, and when I type techno, I get AG techno kit.adg. I'm going to drag that over to a brand new track, so go into the empty area. It's going to take a minute to think about it. Oh, nice colour choices, Ableton. It's doing a good job today. Sometimes it comes up with the most random yellows and browns and all sorts of, but they're all nice and complementary today. Okay, this is our AG techno kit. And if I put my keyboard on 1 down, so the green light is showing down on the octave, or if you go further down in your kit, you'll just play around until you find it. We now should have our kick drum at the bottom. Okay, and the pattern is, do you remember those accents that we had? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. We're going to play a kick drum on each of the accents. We're going to go ba 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 ba, and it will fit in quite nicely with the part that we've already collected. So we're going to use that nice boomy, bassy kick drum, which is on a C, right down at the bottom of the keyboard. Let's do it. Oh, hang on, that's not right. You only need to play on the first 2 accents. So all you do is you go ba, ba, rest, ba, ba, rest, ba, ba, rest. Okay, you can always put them in the wrong, right place if you get them in the wrong place. The third one, the third accent is going to be our snare drum. Okay, so we haven't quite got there yet. Okay, here we go. Okay, could you feel that? Could you feel the pattern? Hope so. There's our kick drums. Going to quantize them. Fantastic, brilliant. Duplicate that AG techno track and delete what's on it, because we're going to want slightly different. Now the snare, which sound did I use? Oh yes, this one. Okay, on the E flat key, I quite like this. It's quite sharp, and it works quite well. So this one goes on the 3rd accent. Boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha. Okay, it's a feel one. Right, and we're going to record. Here we go. Oh, I'm in the wrong track. Okay, I was trying to record onto the track I'd already recorded. I need to make sure that the new track I've created is the one which is armed. I knew that straight away because I couldn't hear the kick drum that I'd recorded. Okay. Lovely, that will do really nicely. It's called a clap on there. Quantized it so it's nicely in there. Okay, and we're going to do something with these because they're a bit. They're not very loud, are they? They're not very punchy. But before we do that, we're going to put a hi-hat in as well. So I'm going to do a 3rd AG techno track. Get rid of what's there already. Make sure this is the track that's armed. I'm going to do it at the start this time. Okay, and one of the hi-hat sounds was pretty good. That one. Okay, and I'm going to play the same pattern that we had for that guitar track, doing 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. I'm going to play that for our 3rd layer. Here we go. Okay, as usual, quantize it. Sounding pretty good. Pretty good, but not good enough. How important are the drums in an EDM track? The answer is extremely important. So we're going to be a little bit creative. You are in year 8 now, after all, should be developing those musical skills. We're going to add an effect to both of our drum kits called a compressor. And what a compressor does is it squashes the audio signal, so there is less distance or less difference between the loud stuff and the quiet stuff. And what that does is it makes it sound louder without actually being louder. I don't want to just ramp the volume up, because you've already heard that that does things like create distortion when things are too loud. So we don't want that at all. We may still have to watch out for that, because we are changing the amount of volume which is being perceived. But we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna go to audio effects. You get rid of techno, because there's something in there. And one of them says dynamics. Pull that down. One of them says compressor. Pull that down. And find generic compressor. Right? I'm going to drag that onto my kick drum track. I'm going to drag it onto my snare drum track. So the first of the first two AG techno tracks. You know what? What the hell? Put it on all of them. Might want a bit of compression on the hi-hat as well. So I'm going to activate the loop at this point, okay, by clicking up here, or you can right click into it and you can say activate loop. Okay, I think that's turned it off actually. Okay, now I'm going to let it loop on itself, just check it goes back. Turn down my computer volume very slightly. Okay, so I'm in the kick drum. This is the control for the compressor, right? This line here. Now I want a bit more thud. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. Hang on a second. What have I done? Am I on the wrong track? Oh no, it is. There we go. So I've just moved it around until I'm a little bit happier with it. Now I'm going to go to the snare, and I want a lot more snare. There we go. Want anything on the hi-hat? Much happier with that. They sound much nicer, much fuller, much warmer without being any louder. Okay, haven't turned them up. Now, have we got any level problems? Let's just have a quick check. Yeah, can you see how we're bouncing around at well above 0? We're at 8.25. So I'm just going to turn the master volume down quite a long way. I'm going to go down to about -12. And now hopefully, yeah, we're nice and... Oh, no. A little bit further even. Turn the computer volume up. There we go. Now we're under 0. Peaking at -1.93. That's fine. Anything under 0. So anything in negative numbers, we're happy. There we go. Okay, just to keep everything nice in your ears. If you put too much compression on stuff and you leave all your volumes up, it can get really boomy and really noisy and really not very good for your hearing quite quickly. 2 more tracks that we need to add. The bass line is next. And then, most important, we need to add the melody over the top. So here we go. I have chosen the sound basic fine line. So I need to click back into sounds. I'm going to search for fine. Okay, there it is. Drag it into the empty area. Oh, it's gone yellow. Do I like that? Yeah, let's keep that one up. Okay, and that should give us that sound on a keyboard. Okay, now the pattern that you want to play for this is exactly the same as the drum beats. You go one, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha. But this time you've got to change note. Okay, your bass parts is up here. Okay, it's A, F, 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 C, 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 G, G, G. Please excuse my singing. It's not very nice, but it is at least in tune. Okay, it's on the right notes. Okay, so it's A, F, 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 C, 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 G, G, G. If you want to change it, if you want to do a slightly different pattern, you go for it. Okay, you know, well, so long as it works and so long as it fits in with what we've done, I encourage it. It's composition or improvisation. It's probably composition or arrangement. I don't know. Getting complicated and going off track. Let's put it in. Okay, so I went A, F, F, F. Oh, I've still got loop on. Let's turn the loop off. Deactivate loop. There we go. Could have done that with this button up here on the screen. Double click into the bass part. Quantize, of course. Always check your quantization. Because, oh, as if that's worked out. This one I played very slightly before, and it's actually put it on the previous beat. So if you can't hear a note, it probably means that it's put it in the wrong place. What's going on here? What's going on? Something weird's happened. Give me a second. Why are you starting in the middle? I don't understand. Or why is this in the wrong place? We've got something blanked off. Okay, this is a bit weird. Not seen this before. Got the wrong number of lines in that grid. Is it because of the loop? Is that what it is? Sorry to have a problem on air, as it were. Has that fixed it? No. Okay, that's really going to bug me. Hang on. I might need to re-record that. Hang on a second. Might be because I was on loop when I recorded. There we go. Oh, worth pointing out the shape of the bass line, actually. I went up for the C. So I went A down to F, up to C, down to G. That's not quite how we've done it before. When we did the chords, we had the C going down. So I've just created a little bit of extra interest by having the C going down. Try and make sure that you do that as well. Quantize this, and hopefully it doesn't mess things up. I think it was because I was on loop. Yep, problem solved. It hasn't quantized though for some reason. There we go. Amazing. There we go. So what we have now, I'll zoom in a bit, we have a 4-chord loop, right, that we can copy as many times as we want, really. And then we can put the melody over the top of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that everything is actually 4 bars long, because if not, you end up in all sorts of grief when you copy and paste stuff, because you end up stuff starting in the wrong place or having too much or wherever it may be. So you can see that our Drippy Cave Pluck 2 tracks are slightly too long. So I'm going to drag the top corner and I'm going to put them back in the right place. The Techno Kit, the first 2 are fine. The third one needs placing, and our bass part is very slightly too long as well, but it does snap for you. It does take you to the right place. So I'm going to select all of these tracks, by holding Shift on the keyboard while I click on them. Okay, you could also drag a mouse cursor around them, but this is my preferred option. I'm going to go copy, which I could do a couple of different ways. I could right click and go copy. I could go edit, copy, or I could go Windows C on the keyboard or Control C on the keyboard if you're on a PC. Then I could paste. Okay, so I'll put it at the start of bar 5, which is where I want it. Right click and paste. Let's put them slightly in the wrong place. How annoying. Okay, so make sure you're in the right place and you just paste. And I'm going to paste out for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's probably too much, but we'll go with it. So now we have a 4-chord loop. And we can lose the metronome. Love that. Sounds great. Don't you think? I think it does. Okay, we're going to need our final track for the hard bit, which is a bit you're going to need to practice probably, because all the notes up to now have been really, really, really simple. This is where things get a little bit more difficult. In the empty area, insert MIDI track. Oh, brown? Brown? No, pink. I don't like that yellow either now. Let's go green. Yeah, that's okay. Bit weird maybe, but oh, hang on, no, that's no good. This is now the wrong colour. Put that back to yellow. We'll leave it as yellow and pink. Ugh. All weird looking colour combo. Anyway, not important. What they look like is not important. It's what they sound like. So make sure you're in sounds. The sound that I have picked is called Basic Wind Lead, and it's in the lead section, synth lead section, because I'll drive it onto my pink MIDI track, and that gives us this. Okay, now it sounds rubbish down there, but it sounds all right when I'm 1 up on the green. So I would do this quite high pitched if I were you. We're not going to keep this sound 100% original, as it were, but we are going to record it like this, and then we're going to work on it afterwards. Okay, so now you will need the main page, the bit that lots of people learn first, of Rewrite the Stars. We're going to do this bit. Bit too much delay on this. Okay, so the main melody. I'm not going to go through. You've got all the letters though. You've probably, if you've performed this before, you've probably already learned how the melody goes. But you're definitely going to need to practice that, or record it in small chunks. You don't have to do it all in one take. You can do it in many. Right, hang on a second. We seem to have a lot of delay on here, which I don't remember being on there last time. Let me take off that. Ah, okay. Got too much reverb on it, so I'm just hang on, let's just adjust a few things. When I did my run-through version, I don't remember this being such a problem. Have I got something installed that I don't want, perhaps? No? Okay, maybe I'm just imagining things. So I'm going to record it. And then we can adjust the sound afterwards if I'm not happy with it, which at the moment I'm not. Now, this song starts with what's known as an anacrusis, which is where there's 2 notes, or 2 beats, 3 notes actually, 2 beats, 3 notes, before the chord sequence starts. So the chord sequence starts on this C here. Now, the nice thing about the chord sequence is because it's just looping round and round and round, we can actually let it start before we start. So we're going to hear the 4 ticks at the beginning, then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to start the melody. Okay, again, that's something which is easier to show you than it is to explain to you. So here we go, here's our melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry, I'm going to wait for a whole cycle round. 1, 2. Okay, so just recorded the melody. Interesting, that delay that I was worried about. Couldn't really hear it when everything else was in, so that wasn't so much of a problem for me. Double click on it, quantize it, make sure it's all in time. If you've got any wrong notes, if anything went wonky in your recording, you can always change them in here. You can actually add notes in, right, using the draw tool. If you press B or press this little pencil icon up here in the top corner, you can click stuff in if you want to add extra stuff. That might be easier for you than playing in some of the melody. It is quite a straightforward one to play, though. I think anyway, which is why it's quite early in the timeline. Now, I said I wanted to work on this sound, and I do. It's not loud enough, so let's go from the beginning. Let's start by adjusting the tone. Okay, so I'm just adjusting things. Okay, and the quality of the sound changes. So you can hear if I change the tone, we get that sort of nasty overtone, which we don't want. We want a little bit of. It's quite nice, it helps it cut through. Noise. It's like white noise added over the top. It was off. I'm just adding a smidge on. Glide is how the notes connect together, okay? So you get these sort of sliding, gliding, swooping effects between them if you turn it on. Which we don't want. Well, that's just quite nice for a little bit of them. Keep going back to the beginning here. The space is the reverb that I was adjusting earlier. It had loads on by default. We don't want that because we want the notes to be able to be heard separately. High octave. If you want that on, it just adds another octave above. I've got it in just a smidge. The release does very little to this particular patch, actually. It's smoothing them out a bit more than I would like when it's up. So there's my settings. Use them. Don't use them. Whatever you fancy. And I think that sounds rather nice. But we've got these endless loops which are going on afterwards. So I'm actually going to put a fade out on. I'm going to show you how to do that. So that master track that we had, I said we were going to refer back to it. I'm going to open the master and I'm going to press A. And what it says there straight away is it says track volume. And this line is representing the track volume. So you can see at the moment it's set at -15, which is where we set the master level earlier, if you remember. So after the melody finishes, I want the loop to fade out. So I'm going to choose a point just after that's finished. Click and make a dot or an automation point. Then I'm going to click a little bit further on, about 5 seconds later, and I'm going to drag it so that we have a line. And what's going to happen now is the volume is going to go down between those 2 points. Watch this. Fade out starts. And now we've got a nice finished project. Hey, rewrite the stars. Let's have a listen, see how it sounds. Really like that kit. Bit more, I think. Just turning it up on the volume. This blue bar here. we go. So there's my EDM version of Rewrite the Stars. Let's see what you come up with. Can't wait to hear some of them. Use different sounds, use the same sounds, add extra parts in, change things up. I don't really care, so long as you end up with a nice, polished version using all of the things that the sequencer is there for. Record in chunks, record in layers, record chords all at the same time. It doesn't matter. Have fun, be creative, enjoy, and no doubt I shall see you in another one of these tutorials in the future.